Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to HRPP's Research Matters. I'm Erica Salzik, the Department Administrator for UT Southwestern's Human Research Protection Program, and I'll be one of the moderators for today's session. Here's our housekeeping. So first, if you have any questions for our presenter, please type them in the Q&A. One of the moderators will respond to you during the session, or we will address it at the end of the presentation. This session is being recorded and you can watch it again right after it's finished by clicking on the Microsoft Teams live link in the email invitation. We'll also be sending out the slides via email, and you can find the links to future meetings, slides, and handouts and past recordings on HRPP's Research Matters website under Training and Resources. We do provide a certificate of attendance for those who have logged in using a valid email address. If you do not receive one via email but should have, please send an email to hrpp@utsouthwestern.edu to request a certificate. And lastly, we really do enjoy hearing from you. So please take a few moments if you can to scan the QR code and provide some feedback. We use this information to plan for future topics on what you would like us to cover during these sessions. And you can also let us know how our speaker did and how our office is doing. So again, you may use the QR code on the screen, or I'm going to drop a link in the Q&A in just a moment. Okay, here's our short and sweet agenda today. Today, Kimberly Hawkins has a presentation, and it's going to focus on the transition from EIRB to UT Southwestern Ethos, and she's going to talk about the key differences between the two systems, and we will conclude with an open Q&A session. So I'm going to turn it over now to Kimberly.
Thank you, Erica. I'm going to share my screen, and so today we're going to talk about, whoops, hang on. So we're going to talk about what UT Southwestern Ethos is. We're going to talk about the system transition between EIRB and UT Southwestern Ethos, the differences between the two systems. We'll briefly talk about the difference between reliance studies in the two systems and the navigation of how you navigate in UT Southwestern Ethos. The dashboard, the tabs, there's a recently viewed and section and how you pin items to it. And also, if there's time, we'll briefly look at the different submissions in the system. So to start with, what is UT Southwestern Ethos? So our current system, why are we changing? So we have a system, it's built by Huron, and it's no longer supported. So we had a choice. We could either go with a brand new system from somebody else, or we could look at Huron in an updated system, and that's what we chose to do. So we're staying with Huron, and we've over the last 2 years we've customized it and done a lot of things which we'll talk about today, and hopefully made this a much better system than our current system. So what does UT Southwestern Ethos stand for? It stands for, and I put the little logo here, Electronic Tracking and Human Research Oversight System. Whoops, sorry, back up. And the we put the UTSW in front of Ethos because at UT Southwestern, there's another system called Ethos. So you'll see us refer to it as UTSW Ethos. We didn't want anybody to get confused between the two systems. So let's talk about transitioning between the old system and the new system. So in preparation for the new system rollout, we want to let you know that there's not going to be any downtime. during the migration, and your research is not going to be affected adversely. We're going to continue to receive IRB reviews, and we're going to review those reviews, and we're taking some steps to make sure that that this happens in a timely manner. We're going to talk about that. There will be some limited functionality for some study types that we're going to talk about, but the new UT Southwestern Ethos, the rollout, go live date is December 23rd, 2024. So you can actually enter your studies in the new system on December 23rd, 2024. So systems expiring during the migration, you do need to submit those continuing reviews prior to the transition. The IRB office will notify you if your studies are expiring to ensure approval does not lapse. So full board studies, you should have already received your notification. And for full board studies, because we want those studies to be submitted by November 23rd. Well, actually, November 24th is what we said, but that's a Sunday. So if you don't work on weekends, then your deadline is next Friday. So the 22nd. Well, actually, this Friday, because today's the 19th. So we sent out a reminder yesterday, and so there were about 30 people left that hadn't, that the studies were either in draft or no CR had even been started. So you will have received that email. So please, please, please submit that CR because the last full board meeting on the calendar in the old system is December 18th, and we are feverishly trying to get all of those scheduled. And it's going to be big meetings, large number of items on there, but we've got to get them all reviewed in time to migrate all of those studies. So please, whoops, refer. This is a note. Please refer only to the communications that we send out. We just don't want any miscommunications, okay? Now, I did provide a link when you get these slides. This is a link to our HRPP website. We'll put updates on there, so you can go to our website. So this is our HRPP website, and there's an update there right now, which is basically saying the same thing I'm telling you right now. And we'll keep that updated. So now, data migration. There will be no full board electronic submissions between November 24th and November 23rd. New studies, continuing reviews, or modifications will be accepted in the current EIRB system between that time. So please get everything submitted now. The reason is that December 18th is the last full board meeting. So you have until November 24th to get everything submitted. But if there are, down here it talks about, we will receive and review any urgent full board items during this time. So just send us an email, let us know if there's anything urgent, and we will work with you. We can enter it for you, or you can submit it, but you do need to send us an email. So we do have an email address now, eirb@utsouthwestern.edu, where you can communicate with us during this migration process. So study migration phases. I want to show you this transition chart. So you see here that full board items are due in EIRB during this period where we're at right now in blue, under wave 1 full board. In weeks 5 through 8, which is the next period that we're coming up on, we're going to, our job is to get all of these full board items approved. And then the next part is to migrate these studies, December 23rd through January 5th. Now, this is the holiday, and we are assigning part of our staff, HRPP, to work on the manual process, because there are fields that cannot be automatically transitioned because there's new questions, and we'll go over that. So we're going to work during the holidays so that you don't have to transition those studies over. We're taking that burden off of you. We don't want you to have to do anything. So in wave 2, this is where expedited and reliance studies get converted. Now there is a phase, what we're working on right now is that there are expedited studies who now qualify under the new common rule to be converted to exempt. That means you're not going to have to do continuing reviews on them anymore, or annual updates. They're going to become exempt, and they're going to live in EIRB. You'll still be able to access them. You'll still be able to look at them. They're still going to be approved, but they're going to live in the old system. We have not completely decided what's going to happen with them, whether they're going to eventually migrate, whether you're going to have to move them if they need a modification. We have not decided what's going to happen with exempt studies that are still active. So more to come on that, and we'll let you know. But you can see that we're planning to migrate those during weeks 11 through 13 for the expedited and reliance. The SIRB reliance site data will be migrated during weeks 14 through 16, and the remaining studies, that means full board that weren't ready when they were supposed to be migrated, expedited reliance or SIRB site data, anything that wasn't quite ready, and that's now approved, we'll migrate those during that time, or we'll, like things that are in draft, we'll withdraw them or do whatever we need to do to clean up the old system. Then we'll migrate everything else during weeks 17 through 19, and then hopefully we'll be all done by March 9th. So that's your summary right there. So now let's talk about key features. So the following slides, so we're going to have a pizza tracker in all of your submissions. We call it a pizza tracker, but it's not really pizza. But we like to think of it as a pizza tracker because when you order Domino's, you have like on your phone, you have like when the guy, you see him, that the order goes in, and you can track it through all the stages of the pizza. Okay, your pizza's ready, and then the guy drives there and he's picking up your order, and you can track it all the way through. Well, that's what's going to happen with your submission. So pre-submission is going to be when your submission is in draft, and then it goes through pre-review. That's when your analyst is actually reviewing it, and they may request clarifications. When it comes back to pre-review and it goes to IRB review, that's when it's going to either be with for non-committee review, or it's going to go to the full board. They may request clarifications, and then it goes to post-review, and that's when it is getting finalized and it'll be finally completed. So that's your pizza tracker, and that's going to be true for all study submissions, mods, CRs, AUs, notice of study closure, and reportable events. So you'll now be required to complete, there's an intake question on new studies. This is your first section of a new study. And there's a complete list of all the intake questions on our SharePoint site for those of you that want to look at these 10 questions. And this sets up your study. And It tells us what type of study you're going to do, what kind of study it is, and whether what kind of setup it needs in Velos. When you submit this study or hit save, it's going to create the study in Velos. So it takes us to this next slide. In the current system, you create the study in Velos first, and then it pushes to EIRB. In the new system, it's going to be initiated in UT Southwestern Ethos, and once you complete that intake system page, it pushes to Velos. So it's swapped, okay? And the reason we did that is that there are some of our affiliate sites that the only reason they ever go into Velos is for performance site review, like THR and Texas Scottish Rite. So we switched it, so now they never have to go into Velos. And now the next item that we're going to talk about is on the intake page, what type of project is this? So you're going to determine, is this human research or clinical investigation? Is it an exempt human research? And we give you a good description of all of these items. And you'll notice that there's non-human research, non-regulated research, and treatment protocols. But under non-research treatment protocols, you are now able to submit emergency use and single patient treatment. So that's a really good help for those that are submit these type of submissions. You don't have to do it via email anymore. And you can now request translations right from your study main screen. You'll enter your billing information. We actually have a contract with the translation company. We bought it for a year, and so you can do this right in your screen, your work main work area. And that simplifies the process. You don't have to do this email thing anymore, but you will get a quote. I mean, you enter your billing information, yes, but you will get a quote and you can accept it before you actually get billed. So ancillary reviews. There is on our side a managed ancillary reviews process. PRNC and ISAC reviews are the only ones that are automatically triggered if the SmartForm questions are answered correctly prior to submission. But all the others, like performance site review for Texas Scottish Rite and THR and SURE and all of those, we just click Manage Ancillary Reviews and we select it. And then the ancillary reviewers go in and submit their ancillary review. And we can also cancel ancillary reviews if they were set up by accident. So that takes some time off. So document uploads. This is a nice feature. So documents can now be named whatever you want. There's no more Form E and Form H and all of this stuff. We're not going to rename your documents. So that makes it easier for you later when you need to find a document. If you've named it according to what your sponsor wants it to be named, that's fine. You can keep track of your documents better that way. What we're doing is we have a category. So consent documents have a category of consent documents. Protocols are in the protocol category. All of these things, that's how we're tracking. That's how we're keeping track of things. So there's now a function called copy submission. It's a cloning function. And this is particularly helpful because we have a section. The Form B is now incorporated into the SMART form. And so you're going to be putting all of your study personnel into the SMART form. And because if you have a study with a lot of people on it, you may not want to re-enter all of those people multiple times for multiple studies. So what you can do is create kind of a template study, and then you don't submit that. You just keep that as a template study, and whenever you need to do a new study, you copy that submission, and that becomes your new study. But I was going to say, the other time you can use that is if you do chart reviews a lot, or another type of study, and you have certain answers that are going to be the same every time. You can also set up that as a template and then copy that. So let's do a comparison of different features. So forms. In the current system, we have a lot of paper forms: Form B, Form C, Form K, Form L. All of those are now incorporated in the system. So the only forms that still exist are the protocol form, the consent form. There's Form Z and Form Z1, those are the translation verification forms. We do have a new radiation exposure worksheet. The SURE is working on something else, hopefully to have a REDCap form. But in the meantime, until that happens, we have a radiation exposure worksheet. That's what's there right now. So the radiation sections, that brings us to our next section. It was embedded, but now it's going to be simplified, and it'll be an upload. In the current system, there is a lack for electronic consent. There's no questions about it. But now there is a section for e-consent, and e-consent systems can be selected. So it actually talks about, okay, what e-consent system will you be using for this population? REDCap, DocuSign, all of that stuff. But there's a lot of questions, so it really fleshes out how e-consent will be used. So modifications. If you've ever done a modification, you know that there's a long modification SMART form, and you don't even really touch the parent SMART form. All of that still has to be done. In the new system, the modification SMART form is 2 sections. One is a brief summary of the SMART form. We ask you some questions, and then you actually go to the parent SMART form and you make the changes. So it simplifies the process dramatically. You upload the actual documents, and then you submit it, and we can do a comparison of the old SMART form, and it does a comparison for us, so we can actually see what changes you made. CRs. So this is a really nice feature. So in the current system, you can't submit a CR and a mod at the same time, but in the new system, you can. And the IRB will determine which one needs to be reviewed first. So in the new system, when you go to submit a CR, the system will automatically determine whether it needs to be a CR or an AU, but the first question says, what is the purpose of this submission? And the first option says, request to continue study activity. That means I want to do a CR or an AU. The second option says, request to close study activity. And that's not, I want to close for study enrollment, that you would do that in a mod. This is actually, I'm done with the study. I'm want to close the study in UT Southwestern Ethos. I'm just done. And that will give you the notice of study closure. So reportable events, this is a really nice feature. So you can submit it for multiple studies. Let's say you have a drug, pembrolizumab, and that's a cancer drug that is often, there's a lot of studies. And let's say there's a new risk, and it affects a lot of studies. Well, you can submit one reportable event and add all of those studies in one reportable event, and we will review all of those studies at once in one reportable event. And then the other option for reportable events is you would do a single reportable event, not multiple ones, but you would do reporting emergency use of an investigational test article for a single patient. Another key difference is in EIRB, you have the paper Y1 and Y2 for non-human and non-regulated submissions. In the new system, these are actually incorporated into the system. You would actually submit it in UT Southwestern Ethos. And one of the things that is different is that the PI would go in and if it's non-human research, a Y1, they would get an immediate determination if they answered all the questions correctly. Now, the only caveat to that is that if they are actually conducting human subject research and they've answered the questions incorrectly, then they're on the hook for that. They've gotten the letter incorrect because it automatically issues an email giving them the determination letter and closes the study as soon as they hit submit. So we don't review it at all. And they're on the hook for that if they've done it wrong. But the upside is that they get it immediately. So they just need to be careful and answer the questions accurately. Read through the questions, think about what they're doing, and do it. For non-regulated research submissions like QI, this requires additional review by the HRPP IRB office before the determination letter is sent. So you would just fill out the application and submit it. We do a review, and then you'd get your determination letter. So now reliance. So in the old system, the first thing you do is submit a reliance request in REDCap. In the new system, you submit the intake page to create the study and push it to Velos. Then you go back, you exit the study, go back to the main study workspace, and there's an activity here that says Add Reliance Institute Information. And when you do that, it sends a request to the Reliance team. It's actually your Reliance request, and it's very short. It's just these 6 questions. So if you answer yes, that the first question says, will this study be done differently at the local site than is described in the protocol or other documents, you answer question 2 that says describe how the study will be done differently. If you say no, then question 2 disappears. Then you add the name of the reviewing IRB and their contact, phone number, and email. This gives our Reliance team the information that they need to start working on the Reliance agreement. And they'll negotiate that all out. Once they have that, then they're going to go to something called Central Actions behind the scenes in Ethos, UT Southwestern Ethos, and they're going to, there's I don't know if you can see it, but they actually add the name of the IRB, for example, Advara. And so this one is an example of Advara. And they go down here to number 7, and they actually add the study number and that allows the study, the name Advara, to appear in your study on page 9, item 1. So that's where I put a little example here, and Advara shows up. Now, one thing I wanted to let you know is that while you're completing the application, you can jump to the next section. If you hit continue, it is going to give you an error message because you haven't completed that, I think. It's not a required question, so I think you can, but there are other required questions on that page, so you need to jump past it. So, last one. Selection of the type of study. In EIRB, you have to decide yourself whether this is an exempt, expedited, or full board study. But that's not really your job. And a lot of times it gets to us and we say, it'll sit in our queue until we get to it. And the analysts will say, oh, this is not really an expedited study. This is a full board study. So it'll get kicked to the full board team, and then it goes to the bottom of their queue, and then it gets to the board, and so some time has elapsed, and it takes longer to review it. In the new system, we've removed that from your responsibility to allow you to focus on completion of the application. Instead, our analysts will route the study to the appropriate level of review. And so basically, when we make the determination, we're going to decide, what it is. So I'm going to back up here. We're not going to start the questions yet. I want to take you to the actual system since we have time. And we're going to look at the dashboard. So I have additional tabs than you do. You're going to, when you get in there as a study coordinator or a PI, you're going to have the dashboard tab, and you're going to have the IRB tab. You're going to see page 4 in your name. You're going to see my inbox, and then you'll see create new study. You'll see reportable events, and you'll see recently viewed. Now, these are items that you've recently looked at. Let's say for you've been working on this study right here, and you want to be able to come back to it quickly. Maybe you have some really good language in there that you want to be able to refer back to because it's a particularly good statement about the population that you've been working on. So let's pin it. You can go to your pinned, and then you'll always be able to refer back to that study. So also my inbox, these are new studies, and these are the mods and CRs, REs that you're actively working on. Okay. So then let's look at the intake section when you create a new study. And just take me a second. All right. So you have the study title. This will be your long study title. So let me just, for the purposes of our thing here, we're just going to say test. Your short title will be the test, you know, like if you're doing a clinical trial, it's going to be whatever you want to call it for your clinical trial. And you're going to put in your PI. For our purposes, we have Walt Whitecoat. That's our test PI. So we have the different types of projects that we talked about. This includes clinical trials, studies intervening with participants to collect specimens, data, or conduct procedures. This also includes secondary research use of specimens. So this would be chart reviews, secondary research if they're using specimens. Now we also have exempt human research. This includes research on educational techniques and in educational settings, studies involving surveys of adults, not children or prisoners, chart reviews, or benign behavioral interventions. Here we have your non-human research, non-regulated research, and non-research treatment protocols. So you have your emergency use, single patient treatment, HUD protocols, or compassionate use. So let's just look at your non-human research. So is this study evaluating the effects of an intervention? No. Will the study take place at UT Southwestern, Parkland, or Children's? Now, this is the start of the questions that create a record in VELOS. So for non-human research, it's going to create a dummy or file in VELOS, but you don't have to register anybody in there. It's just going to, it just has to create a record. Now, will there be any EPIC scheduled or billable study events? No. So I'm going to say no. And then hit continue. All right. So then you go through, and this form now is exactly the same as your Y1, okay? And I'm not going to go through the whole thing because, well, I guess I can. So I'm just going to answer. This gives you specific instructions about everything, what you have to do, and then I'm going to click continue. Oops, go to the first error. And I didn't. I'm going to say no. All right. Here we go. All right. I'm going to say test because this would be your concise summary of the project. Currently, this is a required field to upload study protocol documentation, but we've requested that that not be a required field. So I'm going to add a protocol, but you're not going to have to do that. And I'm just going to add a, I'm just going to add my study document here. And you can add whatever documents you need and hit continue. And then finish. Now, when I hit finish, because I answered if I answered everything correctly according to the criteria, it's going to close and issue a notification. Okay. I'm going to submit it. Because it recognizes me as the PI. And it closed it. And it sent the notification. I just don't have it yet. So Oh, because I'm in the test system, it doesn't, I don't have it. But to show you. But anyway, the let me see here. So that's basically how you do this type of study. And so it's basically how you would do any type of study. This is an expedited study, and it's already approved. The SMART form is already created. Here's your intake section. And so one of the things I'd like to show you here is over here, these are what we call pages. You'll notice that the numbering is different. It's no longer numbered where consecutively, like it's now numbered, and we'll identify it by page number over here, and then item number inside each section. So one of the things I'd like to show you is the study page, the study section over here. So Walt Whitecoat, you have to complete all of the people in here. So here's the PI. We said he was a medical doctor. He's the PI. Here's his home affiliation. We filled out what research activities he has. So this is basically your Form B. Specify UT Southwestern location where he's going to be conducting these research activities. And does he have any conflicts of interest? And he didn't. So if we were to change this and say it was children's, then there wouldn't be a second question. Parkland, Scottish Rite, Retina, IEEM, Texas Health. So Texas Health resource location, you would add a secondary location, and other non-affiliated, you would add other non-affiliated sites. Okay. And you would do the same thing for everybody that you needed to add. And that's why you would want to, and then the second question, primary study coordinator, you need to select somebody that's on here to be the primary study coordinator. This field populates in Velos. And that's something I also want to show you on this. This is our SharePoint site. Everybody that works at UT Southwestern should have access to this SharePoint site. I gave you the link, but we can share it in the, can we share this in the chat?
Yes,
let me give
I
this
have
to you.
already shared it.
Good, good. Okay, so everybody should have access to this site. If you do not work at UT Southwestern and you don't already have access to the site, I need to add you here. So send me an email at eirb@utsouthwestern.edu and send me your email address and I will add you. I'll send you an invitation that you have to accept. So, but this will give you this frequently asked questions here, and in here, this gives you this UT Southwestern to Velos interfaced fields. And this talks about interfaced fields are read-only and cannot be edited in Velos. So this tells you what gets pushed from UT Southwestern Ethos, which is your source of truth, back to Velos, and where it's sourced from. Study personnel, like I just said, that primary study coordinator gets pushed back to Velos, and that's why you have to select something there. The study title, study some purpose of the study. So you can look through here and see which fields get pushed. So if you have to make a change, one thing that I would say is that when you hit save or continue on that page that has this question, it automatically updates in Velos. But one of the other things that I want to let you know is that Kelechi and Chendu did a wonderful job on this page of creating videos of how to create a study and how to do all of these things on this page. We also were able to take the 2-hour training that Naya did on the 13th, and we're working to edit that just a little bit, and then we will post that. And it sounds like we have a lot of questions. So I am going to stop now, and we're going to go to questions.
Yes, we have some questions. So I'm going to start to ask them, and we also invite those who have not submitted their questions to do so at this time. So the first question for you, Kimberly, is will the IRB number remain the same when it moves to UT Southwestern Ethos?
Yes, it will.
Is there going to be a new naming convention though once a study is created in UT Southwestern Ethos?
Yes, there will be a new naming convention, and this is this new naming convention here. It's STU no dash 2020, the year here, and then a 4-digit sequential number.
Okie dokie. Okay, so will you go back to the chart? It talks about the dates.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
Let me go
It's
to
in your slides.
Yeah, it's in my slides, but it's also here in the transition plan where everybody can access it.
Okay, all right, great. So we have a question about this. They're wanting to know when are specific studies going to be migrated and when to start using Ethos for those studies?
Right. So you will receive a notification once your study has been migrated. So during for example, whatever wave you're in, if you have a full board item, we're going to be migrating them in the RAS. They're going to be doing it in chunks over this period. But as soon as our office has the study in a migration completed state, you will automatically get a notification that says migration completed. The other thing that I wanted to mention that I haven't is that we have the ability to request changes during the migration process. Our plan is to keep the changes to a minimum, hopefully limiting that to things like funding. Because the new system links to e-grants and e-agreements, it is difficult for us to identify what the current funding is for the migrated studies. So that's why we would, one of the reasons why we would request changes during the migration process and ask that you quickly add the correct funding during this time, and then submit it back so that we can complete the migration.
Great. And it also just depends on the type of study as well, right? So the full board, they're going to be migrated sometime between weeks 9 and 10. Expedited Reliance is 11 and 13, and SIRB relying site data is going to be later in weeks 14 through 16. Is that right?
Right. And then
Okay.
anything else of those, anything that wasn't approved yet that we're cleaning up will be 17 through 19.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we have a question about being pushed to other sites. So will studies created in UT Southwestern Ethos automatically get pushed to other site activations like Parkland, study sites, etc.?
Right. So you don't have to go through performance site approval again during migration. Is that what you're asking?
It looks like they're saying the study was created in UT Southwestern Ethos. Perhaps that person who did ask that question could clarify a little more. That might be helpful. I'm going to move on to another question. With the new system, will the 60, 45, and 30-day CR expiration reminders still be sent out?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let me just quickly answer that one for the audience. Okay. All right, our next question is along the lines with CRs. With the new UT Southwestern Ethos system, do CRs have to be reviewed and approved by the study PI?
So the same people that do the submissions. Oh, okay. Are they asking if the PI needs to submit the CR? If you're asking, does the PI need to submit the CR? If you have the ability to submit the CR now, you will have the same ability in UT Southwestern Ethos. So if you're a coordinator and you can submit the CR on behalf of the PI now, you can submit it in UT Southwestern Ethos. Did I answer your question?
We will wait and see.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so we already talked about study numbers. Okay, here's one. Will EIRB supporting documents be pushed over to the UT Southwestern Ethos?
No, we won't have a supporting documents section in UT Southwestern Ethos.
Okay, hopefully that answers their question.
But the existing supporting documents section in the old EIRB system will not go away. You'll still be able to reference it. You'll be able to reference any of the old documents in EIRB. It's still a historical system.
Okay. Okay, so EIRB supporting documents, it won't be pushed over.
No.
Okay, all right. But you can still reference it.
Yes, we do not consider supporting documents to be an official record.
Okay.
Anything that's uploaded there is just for reference purposes. It's not officially approved by the IRB.
Gotcha. Okay. Will all study personnel automatically populate with study transfer when the study transfers to UT
No.
Southwestern? Okay.
Right now, we're planning to automatically migrate the PI and the person that's listed as the primary research coordinator.
Okay, so only
I
PI
did,
and primary.
right. I did bring this up as possibly needing to also migrate the primary administrative contact, but we have not had that discussion yet.
Okay, dokie. Someone is asking for a copy of the intake form questions
Yes,
in a
I
PDF version,
included
but is
I
there
included that on the slides. There's actually a
image,
um,
right?
there's a link to it on our SharePoint site. And let's see, here we go. It's on slide 7.
Okay,
It's right here. It includes all 10 of the questions.
great. So this is available on our SharePoint.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. All right, let's see what else we got. We still have plenty more questions here. All right, so will department personnel who have access to expanded studies in EIRB for their department have the same expanded access in UT Southwestern Ethos?
Yes, we're working on rules right now, but as far as I know, the expanded access is not changing. I don't think that, like, if you have department division access,
Yep.
now you'll have the same in UT Southwestern Ethos.
Okay. Next question here. Let's see, what do we got? Will the study no longer be viewable in EIRB once migrated to Ethos?
Okay, so it will be viewable.
Okay.
You will not be able to accidentally submit anything. It'll be only viewable, but for historical purposes, you'll be able to go in there and see all the documents and do whatever you need to do historically for historical purposes, but you can't actually submit to anything in the old system.
And there isn't the ability to accidentally submit something
No.
in EIRB after the study's been migrated. So it will just
Right,
be a
and
view only.
right. And after the transition, after UT Southwestern Ethos goes live, the old system is shut down in terms of submissions. You need to submit anything new in the new system. I don't. I know that there's a transition period in there. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. This is kind of for the cutoff. It's a question about the cutoff. So if I have open stipulations, will I be able to answer them during the transition period of November 24th to December 23rd, or will I need to wait for it to be transferred to Ethos?
No, you can still answer it. We're still trying to close those out to get everything approved.
Answer in EIRB.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's see what else we got going on here. Similar question about access. So will everyone that currently has access to EIRB have the same?
Yes.
So everyone
Yeah.
will
Now
have
the
the
only
same.
thing that's different is that there's a new role called co-principal investigator, where there's a let me show you in the new system. Let me add somebody here. There is the principal investigator and there's a co-principal investigator. This is not typical. Justification is required. Basically, this is going to be somebody who is like the PI, has the exact same functions as the principal investigator. Let's say the PI goes out of town or whatever, but they have the same function as the principal investigator. Because they do have the same responsibilities as the PI, they have to provide a justification for appointing a co-principal investigator because they're sharing the PI's actual responsibilities.
Okay.
So then we're no longer have co-PIs, in co-investigators, what we're calling them in the current system. We're calling it's now called sub-investigators. So these people are not like co-PIs. They don't share all of the same responsibilities as a principal investigator, but they are like the other, they're MDs or they are sub-investigators.
Gotcha.
I hope that makes sense. And then
Yes.
you have all the other people on the study.
Great. I do think there are a lot of questions surrounding the roles.
Yeah.
We are pretty much at time.
Okay.
So I am going to conclude, but I will say that we do still have some more questions. So I'm going to have potentially maybe you, Kimberly and Kelechi, compile these questions and post the questions and answers under FAQs. That will probably be helpful to everyone who didn't get their question answered today. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you everyone for coming to today's presentation. Our next session is going to be scheduled for December 17th. Thank you, Kimberly, for a really amazing presentation and showing us the key features on our new system. We look forward to seeing you guys next month. Have a great rest of your week.